Hi, this is Greg from Greg's Bass Shed. Welcome to the lesson. In this video we're going to look at 5 of Tommy Shannon's classic blues bass lines. If you haven't heard of Tommy Shannon, well, he was Stevie Ray Vaughan's right-hand man in the band Double Trouble. For me, the appeal of Tommy Shannon's bass lines is his solid driving sound that he gets. He really knows how to fill out the bottom end, and his techniques are well worth learning, especially his Texas blues shuffle technique. As well as looking at the 5 bass lines, I'll also point out certain techniques that you can use to enhance your own blues walking bass lines. When Tommy Shannon played with Stevie Ray Vaughan, Double Trouble tuned down a semitone or a half step. But we're going to look at that from the second bass line, so I'll explain how you do that. But for this first bass line, this is from a Johnny Winter song, I'm Yours and I'm Hers, so we don't have to down tune for that, so just normal tuning for this first song. Before playing with Stevie Ray Vaughan, Tommy Shannon also played with other blues artists, and one of these was a guy called Johnny Winter. If you don't know him, then I suggest that you check out his self-titled album Johnny Winter, because Tommy plays on all of the album and there's some great tracks on it. It sort of reminds me of the early years of Fleetwood Mac around the Peter Green era. I'm Yours and I'm Hers starts with a bass solo on the intro, so we're going to look at the intro and the verse. I'll now play that for you. First of all, I'll show you how to play this descending run that we've got in the first bar. Now that's based on an A minor blues scale, which I'll play for you now. Okay, and we use all those notes apart from the E. And obviously the run is descending, it goes backwards, so we actually go the other way. And we carry on the scale, G, open E, so those notes, okay? And what we've got before that, we've got some octave A's. I use the open A. You can use the 5th fret of the E string, whatever you find easiest. And then we've got the high A, so that's 7th fret of the D string. Okay, that rhythm. And then the run. So I suggest that you practice that really slowly until you can play it properly and then speed it up. In the 4th bar, we've got an E7 chord and we just use octave E's again. So open E and an E on the 7th fret of the A string. So we've got that rhythm. Bum 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 bum. So the bass note is 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. One, two, three, 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2. So make sure you play that 1 2 and just don't play 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. Okay. So the whole of the intro. Then we have the verse and we have a similar riff to the intro. We just don't use the octave A, so we start on the high A. And then don't go down to the open E. And then we've got an answering phrase here. And that just uses A, C, D and G. So I'll now play you the first 2 bars of the verse. We play that riff twice in the verse and then we move to D. Now the riff is slightly different on D. Okay. And then E down to D. You've now got enough information to play the whole bass line, and like with the other tunes, Tommy Shannon plays slight variations as he goes through the song. So see if you can hear those when you're listening to the original recording, and you can even put your own variations in. Now I've written all these bass lines down on the PDF with standard notation and tab, and you can get that by clicking the link in the description below this video. And it's really handy to have that PDF because you can look through and see where all the variations and changes are. Also remember to subscribe to me here on YouTube. You can do that by pressing the red subscribe button on the bottom of this video. And if you click the bell, you'll get notified about any of my new video releases. We're now going to move on to the Stevie Ray Vaughan songs from Double Trouble, and you need to detune your bass. So I've already detuned this, so you need to tune your E string down to an E flat, your A string down to an A flat, your D string down to a D flat, and your G string down to a G flat. And the reason we detune is because there are some really nice E flats, and that becomes just an open E when you detune. But if you haven't got that, then you can't get those nice low notes. So your bass should sound like this. The second bass line we're going to look at is from Tightrope, from the album In Step, and I'm going to play the intro and the verse for you now. The intro starts with this riff. So we've just got E, D, B, and then A, G, E, and that's repeated twice. And then for the verse, we've got a groove on B. So, and make sure you play those first 2 notes short, give them some punch. So it's just B's and then E. I'm using the open A for this bit. So B, A, B, and then E, A. Okay, so we've just got E, A, and B for that. And then we've got some variations on that. So if you look in the second bar on the PDF, remember you can get the PDF below by clicking the link in the description. So the second bar of Tightrope of the verse. Okay. To an F sharp. B, A, F sharp, A. You might want to use the open A's, that's entirely up to you, so you do. But I prefer using that 5th fret of the E string. Then we've got the same riff on the 3rd bar. And then we go down to G sharp, E, and then we've got the riff again. So that's the majority of the bass line right there. Remember though, when you play under the guitar solo, that follows a 12-bar blues sequence, a traditional 12-bar blues sequence. So that's what you need to do there. So that's a 12-bar blue in B. If you need help with this sequence, then click on this link here. That will take you to one of my other videos that gives you help about setting up that sequence. The third bass line we're going to look at is from Crossfire. Now again, this is from the In-Step album by Double Trouble, and we can look at the main riff. And I love this riff, it's really catchy, it's such a solid riff. And Tommy Shannon actually wrote this riff and wrote the song. This is a fairly basic riff to learn, but once you know it, the real discipline is repeating it over and over again in time, accurately and with good groove. If you listen to the original, you hear that Tommy Shannon just does that. He doesn't really put many variations in, he just plays it really solidly. And he's a prime example to me of a really in-demand blues bass player, because he just gets the job done and plays what's right. And if you watch Tommy Shannon and some of the Double Trouble live footage, you'll see that he really watches Stevie Ray Vaughan like a hawk to hear and see what he's doing, and then just alters his playing to suit that. This riff is based on a straight dominant 7th arpeggio. That's in E. So the riff goes. So again, practice that one slowly until you get it, and then you can speed it up. And the riff is the basis of the whole song. There's a few little changes throughout the song, but again, listen to the original and see if you can work those out. But this is the main riff. The fourth Tommy Shannon bass line we're going to look at is from Double Trouble's Pride and Joy, and this is one of their most famous songs, and it features Tommy Shannon playing his Texas shuffle groove. Now if you want to find out more about how to create Texas blues walking lines, then check out another one of my videos which I'll put the link for here, or you can go over to my blues playlist here on YouTube. I've got other blues lessons on there. I'm now going to play you the first verse from Pride and Joy. Now the key to playing this bass line is to put these low open notes in. So if we look at the first bar, we've got this pattern. So we've got there the main notes, and Tommy Shannon just filled in the other notes in between with open E's when we had an E chord. Now I find it easier to play the notes on the A string with my second finger on my plucking hand and play the open E's with your first finger. And if we just played the main notes without the bottom E's, we'd have so that's a classic boogie line, but it really fattens the bass line out to have these open notes. Now it might take you a while to learn that technique, but it's really worth it because it really fattens out the bass line. And it's especially useful if you're playing in a blues trio because you want to fill out that sound. When we go to the A chord, then we've got some low open A's there. And then back to the E. And then B. And then A. And then E. And that's a turnaround there that uses B7. You can look at this bass line on the PDF. Remember, it's got tab and standard notation. So learn that Texas shuffle groove and then put the whole thing together. And there's different variations as you go through the songs. So see if you can hear those on the original and incorporate those into the bass line. The fifth and last bass line that we'll look at in this video is from Texas Flood. And this is from the album Texas Flood by Double Trouble, and Pride and Joy is from that album as well. This song is in 12/8 time, which is a classic time to have for lots of blues shuffles. So you've got 4 beats in a bar, but each bar has 3 eighth notes in it. If you're in 4/4, then a quarter note would just have 2 eighth notes. So we've got this rhythm: 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1, and is often used 12/8 time for slow blues shuffles. This is an excellent bass line to study to learn about the 12/8 blues shuffle. Now, for me, in this style, there really are some notes that sound great and others that don't. So there's really the right type of note here. And you learn that from experience. But if you're not quite there yet, then study this bass line and really learn what Tommy Shannon is playing here. Now this is in G, and we've got this rhythm. So that's a quarter note followed by an eighth note. And there's that really nice fill there at the end of the first bar. So that's just based on a D. And then we've got C. And then G. And then here, this is quite interesting, this bar just got root, major third, fifth. And then stepping up to C from G. And it's really nice, those 2 short notes there. And then we're on C. Still C. And then G again. D, C, and that's a turnaround in the last 2 bars. So we've got G, C, G, D. So have a look at that bass line on the PDF and look at the chord symbols above and see if you can work out why certain notes work there. So you can see, like in the 3rd bar, you've got the root, the 3rd and the 5th. If you look at the D7, when we get to that, on the 2nd from last line, you've got, again, root, 3rd and then octave. Okay, so just look and see why you think these notes are working. Well, that's the 5 Tommy Shannon bass lines. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was really fun to make it. If you did enjoy it, can you please like and share it, which really helps me out. And also leave any comments below. I love to see your comments. What are your favourite tunes, if there's any other tunes you'd like me to do, and what you thought of the video. And also if you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer and to help you. And also remember to subscribe by pressing the red subscribe button, click the bell, and also download the PDF, which you can get below this video. You might also want to check out my website, gbshed.com. I've got more free resources over there, and I've got a great giveaway when you sign up to my mailing list. I've also got video courses and ebooks. So if you're serious about improving your bass playing, then go over and check out my website, gbshed.com. And I've put details of that and more useful links below in the description. This is Greg from Greg's Bass Shed. I'll see you in the next video.